So recently I came out on Facebook as trans, and I got some support from different people, both. There was some people who were kind of against it and some people who were pretty okay with it. Thank you for that, for the people who were on my side and, just all the positive, nice things that people have said. So, okay. Before I came out as trans, I didn't really feel happy, so I felt kind of... Here, just a second. Got my papers all mixed up. Okay. Some of the reasons I came out as trans were... I think a lot of this was subconscious, so I could pin my depression somewhere else, so cope with, it was a way to cope instead of worrying about the bad things in my past, my brothers, and so many other things. I could tell myself the reason I felt horrible was because I was trans. Instead of having to worry about all the big things I was dealing with, I could just focus on one problem instead of a lot of problems. My depression wasn't the only thing fueling this. At the time, kids at school were making fun of me, and I started not to feel very self-confident. I started not to feel beautiful. I started to feel kind of out of place and ugly. And I noticed that the girls around me were they were being treated not as good for the way they looked. And I realized that the guys weren't kind of getting that negative feedback on how they looked as much, and maybe I subconsciously took that as, okay, well, it's okay for guys to be ugly, and I think I've always had kind of this feeling that I didn't really like being a girl anyway, so that's also there. At the time, I started questioning my gender, and I came out to my therapist telling her that I thought I might be trans. She started Googling it, looking up different things, and she found all these different websites, and one of the websites that she found said different things about how you could come out to your parents and that it would be less hard and the anxiety wouldn't be as bad if you wrote them a letter and were out of the house when they read it. So I did write my parents a letter, but I was still unsure whether I was trans or not. So I kept the letter to myself for quite a while. I think it was maybe not that long, but about a week or two. I, at some point, gave them the letter, and they read it. Soon after, I believe maybe the same amount of time, about a week or so, I'm not quite sure, I posted it on Facebook telling everyone that I was trans. So I think another thing that may have fueled me to come out was that my therapist wasn't really a good therapist for me. She had been working with kindergartners before she was working with me, and I was kind of one of the first teens that she had ever worked with. So she was kind of learning, and I wasn't a very good person to be learning with because I was really depressed. She went from dealing with 5-year-olds, little annoying 5-year-olds, to dealing with an over-emotional, hormonal teenager who is dealing with lots of anxiety and depression and a lot of hard things going on in their life. So I think that was a really big jump for her. So having her as a therapist was really hard, so it kind of made it to where I couldn't really, I was more telling her all the things instead of, me telling her how I felt and she being able to figure it out. Was more me telling her how I felt and then me having to figure it out on my own and kind of explain it to her when I didn't really quite understand some of the ways that I was feeling. I feel like subconsciously my brain used this thing as a coping tool, but not only that, I already didn't like being a girl. So there was a lot of factors that went into this. So I came out, and a lot of people kind of gave me feedback on that. So then with this therapist, that happened. So then I think really I definitely believe that this was maybe a coping method that my brain had made up. And to be honest, I do think it worked. I mean, it did stress a lot of people out, and I really apologized for that. I'm honestly sorry. But as I went through this, I was able to get my mind off of all of the problems that I had been dealing with before. And sometimes getting away from your problems can make them kind of, you forget about them, so they kind of resolve themselves, because in some situations it's best to walk away. But because I couldn't get my mind off of it, because I didn't have anything to distract myself, I wasn't able to get away from it. So with doing this, I believe that having gone through this transition, I have kind of taken my mind off of it, targeting all of my depression and anxiety towards this thing. Then I started to believe that that was the thing that I was worried about, and I forgot about my brothers, that I was worried about them. I didn't forget about them. I can't forget about them. I forgot that I was worried about them. I forgot that I was worried about myself. I forgot all of the things that I was worried about. And I was able to focus on this other thing. And it was kind of like a made-up problem. It was still there in a way, because I did hate being a girl. I still kind of dislike being a girl. I'm not comfortable with it, but I'm definitely not a boy. I feel like having gone through this, I've come out of this, and I feel better. I mean, I know I've made a lot of other people probably really stressed out. I really don't know. I don't talk to a lot of people about this issue. But I feel like I've stressed a lot of people out, especially my parents. My mom specifically. I know that she's been worrying a lot about me. I just want to say that don't take this and think, okay, so this person is using saying that they're trans because it's a coping method. Not all kids say that they're trans because of that. Some kids really are. And I'm really sorry that I would use something like this. I mean, I didn't really... See, to be honest, I felt that that was real, and everybody goes through phases. I've had friends who would full-on claim that they were lesbians, and they wouldn't stop claiming that. They would tell everybody about it. And then I've had other friends who claimed that they were agender. They would tell everybody about that, and that that was what they were. And then later they would change their mind. It's a phase. Everybody goes through phases, and phases are okay. Phases aren't bad. I mean, they can stress people out, but to be honest, you just need to let your kids go through phases, and I'm really sorry if this has stressed so many people out. I really do apologize. I didn't mean to stress anyone out. I'm better. In a lot of ways, I'm better. A lot of the problems are gone. Just by getting my mind off of them and letting them resolve themselves, I'm able to actually handle the problems that I had before. I can actually think about them without freaking out because I did this. Because I've been through this, I can actually think about other problems. Dealing with this fake problem, though it was very real to me, it was really real to me. So it's not that I was like pretending. I really felt that it was real, but now that I look back on it and think about it a lot more, I've been thinking about this for quite a while, but I was scared to tell people because I thought everyone would be angry at me because I've stressed so many people out by telling them that I was trans, and I'm sorry. Thank you for those of you who helped me through this. I really apologize for this. If you think that this... and there's other teens who are probably going through this who said something and they really didn't mean it and they're having to live with it now. I just really hope that maybe this video can be helpful to others. Now, just know that if your kid does come out as trans at some point, it doesn't mean that it's a phase. Because some kids, they really are. And that is just something that people need to understand. If you don't agree with me, I'm sorry, but that's my opinion. I really do feel bad about having done this. I mean, it wasn't really an intentional thing that I could control because it was in my head and I felt it was real. But just know that not all kids are like me. Not all kids are using being trans as a coping method. Some kids really are, and I want to put that out there because this is me, but I feel like there might be some other kids going through the same thing where they said something that they regret and they can't take it back. Thanks for watching, my family. I love you. I'm really sorry that I've done this. I love you guys a lot, and I really didn't mean to stress anyone out. It was just, it happened, and I can't take it back. I want to fix it. If you have questions, feel free to comment. Those of you who have my social media, you guys can message me on there, talk to me. You guys, if you have my phone number, I'm not going to be giving it out because this is public, but if you guys want to message me, feel free to do that for my family. I love you guys. Hopefully this was useful to you. Bye.